Assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. How are you doing today? Okay, today's session is about types of sentences. Firstly, you should ask yourself, why do we need to learn the different types of sentences? Okay, actually, it is related to the writing section. And when we write, we need to vary the sentences that we are writing. That's why you need to write simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, and compound complex sentences. Are you ready? Let's start. Firstly, let's consider this example. The boys went to the park. What is the subject here in this sentence? It's the boys. Do you know what I mean by the subject? Okay, the subject is the person or the thing that is doing the action. And what is the predicate here in this example? Okay, it went to the park. Again, do you know what is meant by a predicate? Okay, the predicate tells what the subject is or does. So here the predicate is went to the park. Okay, and does this sentence contain a subject and a predicate? Of course. And does it express one idea? Yes. And is it a complete idea or a complete thought? Sure. So, what do we call this sentence? This sentence is called simple sentence or independent clause. So, what is meant by an independent clause? It's a clause that can stand alone as a sentence. Okay, so the simple sentence here, we can just say it contains a subject and a predicate, it contains one independent clause, and it expresses one complete idea. Is it clear? Fine. Let's move to the other example here. We have another one. I like tea and he likes coffee. How many sentences do we have here? Yes, we have two sentences. I like tea, he likes coffee. For the first sentence, the subject is, yes, it's I, and the predicate is like tea. For the second sentence, the subject is he, and the predicate is likes coffee. So, does each sentence contain a subject and a predicate? Sure, yes. And does each sentence express one complete idea or thought? Yeah. But what is and? Yes, it's a conjunction. And what type of conjunctions is it? Good, it's a coordinating conjunction. That's why we call this type of sentences compound sentence. What is a compound sentence? From what we mentioned right now, it's the compound sentence contains two or more independent clauses. These two clauses are joined by a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Do you know what is meant by a coordinating conjunction? Yes, they are the fanboys. What are the fanboys? The word fanboys stands for, yes, F for A and, N nor, B but, O or, Y yet, S so. And I want you always to remember that you need to insert a comma before the coordinating conjunctions. Clear? Okay, but I want you to note that main clauses can be joined to build a compound sentence by using a comma followed by a coordinating conjunction. But we have another strategy or another technique to form a compound sentence, which is a conjunction is not necessary to form a compound sentence because sometimes we can use a semicolon. So a semicolon may be used to join two main clauses without a conjunction. It would be something like this. We have an independent clause, comma, coordinating conjunction, the other independent clause, like this. I like tea, comma, and he likes coffee. Or we can have the independent clause, semicolon, and the other independent clause, like this. I like tea, semicolon, he likes coffee. But I want you to know that we couldn't use a coordinating conjunction after a semicolon, okay? And both examples are compound sentences here. Now, let's move on and consider the following example. The boys didn't go to the zoo because they went to the park. Here, how many sentences do we have? Yes, it's obvious we have two sentences. Okay, let's consider the first sentence. The boys didn't go to the zoo. Does the sentence contain a subject and a predicate? What do you think? Yes. The subject here is the boys, and the predicate is didn't go to the zoo. Okay. Does it express one complete idea? Sure. One more question. Is it an independent clause? Yes. Sure. So, now let's go for the second part of the sentence. Because they went to the park. Does this sentence contain a subject and a predicate? Sure. We have they as a subject, went to the park as a predicate. But does it express one complete idea? No, actually no. Because you're going to ask yourself because of what? You feel that something is missing here. So it's called dependent clause. What is meant by a dependent clause? A dependent clause can't stand alone as a sentence and begins with a conjunction, which is because here. What type of conjunctions is because? Yes, it's a subordinating conjunction. So, this sentence is called complex sentence. What is meant by a complex sentence? It's the sentence that contains an independent clause and a dependent clause. The dependent clause begins with a subordinating conjunction, like this example. The boys didn't go to the zoo. This is the independent clause. Because they went to the park, this is the dependent clause. Clear? Okay. Please note the following. Let's compare between two examples. These two examples. The boys didn't go to the zoo because they went to the park. Because the boys went to the park, they didn't go to the zoo. Can you find any difference between the two sentences? Yes. Please here note that you just use a comma after the dependent clause when it comes at the beginning of the sentence. Okay? So, we shouldn't use any commas before the subordinating conjunction if it's used in between the two clauses. Okay? Keep it into your mind, please. Now I'm going to give you some examples for subordinating conjunctions. We have subordinating conjunctions for time, like after, as soon as, before, since, until, when, whenever, while. Subordinating conjunctions for place, like where, wherever. For manner, like as if, as though. For cause, like as, because, as much as, since, so that. For concession, like although, even though, and though. For conditions like if and unless. Clear? Okay, let's move on to the next step. Consider this example. Although we had difficulty deciding, we finally chose a destination and Dad bought the airline tickets. We should divide the sentence into two parts so that it would be easier to analyze the sentence. So the first part, it will be, although we had difficulty deciding, we finally chose a destination. It's very clear that it's a complex sentence. We have one dependent clause that is connected to an independent clause using a subordinating conjunction, which is although. That is why we insert the comma in between the two clauses. And the second one, it should be, we finally chose a destination and that bought the airline tickets. It's clear that it's a compound sentence because we have two independent clauses connected together using a coordinating conjunction, and we do not forget to add a comma before the coordinating conjunction. So this sentence is called a compound complex sentence. Okay? What is meant by a compound complex sentence? It's when we have two independent clauses joined to one or more dependent clause. In order to punctuate the compound complex sentence correctly, I give you some examples and let's do them together. Let's consider and punctuate the following examples. While Tom reads newspapers, Jack reads comics, but Sam reads only magazines. We should divide the sentence so we can easily punctuate it. Newspaper, it's a dependent clause. Jack reads comics, it's an independent clause. But Sam reads only magazine, it's an independent clause. So we have while which is a subordinating conjunction. That's why we insert a comma in between the two clauses, a comma after the dependent clause, because it comes at the beginning of the sentence. Then we have a coordinating conjunction followed by the independent clause. And here we need to insert a comma before but, because but here is a coordinating conjunction that is used to connect two independent clauses. Clear? Okay. Let's consider another example and punctuate it together. Tom reads newspapers, but Jack reads comics. Tom reads newspaper is an independent clause, but Jack reads comics. It's an independent clause. Because books are difficult, this is a dependent clause. That's why here we add a comma before but, because it's a coordinating conjunction used to connect two independent clauses. And because the subordinate